Ever find yourself scratching your head wondering, where on earth did that phrase come from? Like, why do we bite the bullet when we're facing something tough or spill the beans when we reveal a secret? In this video, we're diving into the quirky, jaw-dropping histories of 10 phrases you probably use every day. Buckle up for some wild and wacky origins that might just make you rethink how you speak. Let's jump in. Bite the bullet. Let's dive into the phrase bite the bullet, something we say when we have to face a difficult or unpleasant situation with courage. The origins of this phrase are as gritty as the situations it describes. Back in the 19th century, during the height of warfare, soldiers often underwent surgeries on the battlefield without the benefit of anesthesia. Imagine being in such a dire situation where relief from pain was minimal, and you're about to undergo a painful procedure. To help soldiers endure the agony, doctors would give them a bullet to bite down on. This wasn't just a random choice. The act of biting the bullet served a practical purpose. The primary reason was to help soldiers manage the excruciating pain and prevent them from screaming or making too much noise. The physical act of biting down on something solid like a bullet was meant to give them something to focus on and help them withstand the intense discomfort. It wasn't about looking brave. It was about coping with a harsh reality. Spill the beans. When we say spill the beans, we're referring to accidentally or deliberately revealing a secret. But the origins of this phrase might be more intriguing than you'd expect, possibly tracing back to ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, beans weren't just a food item. They played a crucial role in the democratic process. Citizens used beans as a form of voting. Each person would drop a bean into a jar, white for a positive voter answer and black for a negative one. This method ensured that votes were counted in secret, and only the final tally would be revealed. However, if someone accidentally knocked over the jar or spilled the beans, all the individual votes were exposed at once. This premature revelation would defeat the purpose of a secret ballot and expose the outcome before the official count. Hence, the phrase spill the beans came to symbolize the act of revealing confidential information, whether intentional or accidental. Raining cats and dogs. This is one of those phrases that sounds like it could be straight out of a cartoon, but its origins are surprisingly grounded and perhaps a bit grim. One theory traces this peculiar phrase back to the 17th century streets of England. During heavy rainstorms, the downpours were so intense that they would wash away all sorts of debris, including the unfortunate dead animals that had been discarded on the streets. It's said that seeing these animals being swept away by the rain might have led to the expression, raining cats and dogs, giving a vivid image of how severe and chaotic the weather could be. Another intriguing theory links the phrase to Norse mythology. In ancient Norse beliefs, cats were thought to symbolize heavy rain, while dogs were associated with the wind. This mythological connection could have contributed to the phrase, painting a picture of a storm where cats and dogs, symbols of rain and wind, were coming down in a tempestuous mix. Butter someone up. To butter someone up means to flatter them excessively, often to gain favor or favorably influence them. The origins of this phrase are quite fascinating and a bit unexpected. The expression dates back to ancient India, where it wasn't just a culinary term, but a part of religious practice. Devotees would throw balls of butter at statues of their gods as a form of worship. This act of offering was believed to curry favor with the deities and ensure blessings. The butter was a symbol of purity and devotion, and the more butter they threw, the more favor they hope to gain. So, when someone is buttering you up, it's a modern twist on this ancient practice. Instead of literal butterballs, it's all about the sweet, flattering words meant to win you over. Saved by the bell. If you've ever narrowly escaped a tricky situation, you might say you were saved by the bell. This phrase has an interesting and somewhat dramatic origin. In the world of boxing, saved by the bell refers to a fighter who is on the brink of being knocked out, but is rescued by the bell, signaling the end of a round. It's a literal lifeline that gives the fighter a chance to recover and continue the match. This use of the phrase is rooted in the intense and sometimes perilous nature of the sport, where a timely bell can mean the difference between victory and defeat. However, there's also a darker and more macabre theory about the origins of this phrase. In the 18th century, there was a practice involving safety coffins, which were equipped with bells. The idea was to attach a bell to the coffin's exterior, with a string leading inside. If someone was accidentally buried alive, they could ring the bell to alert those above ground and be rescued. This grim precaution reflects the very real fears of premature burial during that time. So, whether you're talking about a boxing match or an elaborate safety mechanism, the bell has had its fair share of dramatic rescues throughout history. Break the ice. The phrase break the ice actually has its origins in literature. It was first popularized by the 17th century poet Samuel Butler in his satirical poem Hudibras. In the poem, Butler used break the ice as a metaphor to describe easing into a difficult or awkward situation, much like breaking through a literal layer of ice to make progress. But the metaphor also draws from maritime practices. In the days before advanced technology, ships navigating icy waters faced the problem of getting stuck in frozen seas. To overcome this, smaller, specially designed icebreaker ships would forge a path through the ice, allowing larger vessels to follow safely. Over time, breaking the ice evolved into a common expression used to describe actions that ease initial social tension or awkwardness. Just as icebreakers helped ships move through ice, breaking the ice in a social setting helps people feel more comfortable and makes it easier to start conversations. Bury the hatchet. When you make peace with someone, you bury the hatchet. This phrase has its roots in a meaningful Native American tradition that symbolizes reconciliation and the end of conflict. The origin of the phrase is tied to peace negotiations between tribes. During these negotiations, it was customary for the leaders of the warring factions to physically bury their weapons, such as hatchets, at the site of the agreement. This act was more than just a gesture. It was a powerful symbol of the commitment to cease hostilities and forge a lasting peace. By burying their weapons, the tribe showed that they were laying down their arms and moving forward in harmony. This practice was not only a ceremonial gesture, but also a deeply significant act meant to demonstrate the sincerity of the peace agreement. The image of burying the hatchet thus became a metaphor for resolving disputes and ending conflicts. Pulling someone's leg. The phrase pulling someone's leg means to tease or playfully deceive someone. Its origins might be darker than the lighthearted joke we think of today. One theory traces the expression back to 18th century London, where it's believed that thieves used to pull or trip the legs of their victims as a way to rob them. By causing their victims to stumble or fall, the thieves could more easily snatch their belongings. While this theory paints a rather grim picture, the phrase has evolved significantly since then. Another possibility is that the phrase is linked to a more literal and playful origin. In the 19th century, it was common for people to pull someone's leg as part of practical jokes or to amuse themselves with harmless tricks. In this context, the phrase evolved to describe lighthearted teasing rather than malicious intent. Let the cat out of the bag. We use the phrase, let the cat out of the bag, when we accidentally reveal a secret, but its origins are both intriguing and a bit sneaky. The phrase dates back to medieval markets, where merchants sold piglets to customers. These piglets were typically kept in bags to ensure they were transported safely and discreetly. However, some unscrupulous merchants would substitute piglets with less valuable cats. When customers bought what they thought was a piglet, they would be in for a surprise if the cat jumped out when the bag was opened. The act of letting the cat out of the bag was not just about exposing a secret, it was about uncovering a scam. The phrase captures the moment when deception is revealed and the truth comes to light. Working around the clock. When you're putting in long hours and working late into the night, you might say you're working around the clock. This phrase reflects the idea of working continuously, from morning till night, and sometimes beyond. The origin of the phrase comes from the use of clocks to measure time. The imagery of keeping track of every hour on the clock perfectly captures the relentless effort of working non-stop. Unlike burning the midnight oil, which specifically refers to late-night work by oil lamps, working around the clock emphasizes the continuous nature of the effort. During World War II, this phrase took on a special significance. The war effort necessitated factories and workers operating around the clock to produce essential materials and supplies. The intense, non-stop production schedule was critical to supporting the war, and many industries adopted 24-hour operations to meet the urgent demands. And there you have it. 10 phrases we all use, but now you know the curious history behind each one. So, next time you're pulling someone's leg or burning the midnight oil, you'll have a little story to tell. If you enjoyed learning the origins of these phrases, hit that like button and subscribe for more fun facts here at Vertex View. Until next time, Remember to always thank your lucky stars.